I'll show you how I did this Little Mermaid cake. I did a two-tone buttercream, starting with pink buttercream at the bottom. I usually use American buttercream for kids' birthday cakes. It's very sturdy to work with. I just did 2 layers of pink buttercream at the bottom and spread it a little bit with the offset spatula. Then I moved on to blue buttercream, and here you can see the piping bag has a lot more buttercream because it is the majority that's going to cover the cake. I basically spread the buttercream all over the cake, and I create a tall edge to the buttercream, and then I also add some right at the top. When I work with American buttercream, I like to spread the top first because, as you may know, American buttercream can harden and crust, plus my cake is very chilled. So I'm gonna start with spreading the top, and then I leave it completely and then work on the sides. On this style of cake, I cannot move the offset spatula up and down because I need to create these two-tone on the cake. So I move straight to the scraper and I scrape the sides. And I keep adding more buttercream in any holes or gaps to fill it up. I also want the blue and pink to be slightly blended together, so it doesn't have a distinctive line. They kind of blend, so I kind of swoosh back and forth my spatula so they blend a little. And then I keep scraping over and over until my cake is completely smooth around the sides. And always remember that I create a tall edge on the top of the cake so I can chop it off. Then I move to the offset spatula, and in this design, I'm just creating swirls all around the cake. I press the spatula into the cake and I keep turning and turning. As you can see here, I will stop and remove all of that buttercream because it tends to get back on the cake. So I scrape it off and continue creating this design until I reach the very top. In this design, I left the edge of the cake a little lifted. I didn't tidy it up or chop it, just I left it that way. This is the design of the cake. And then I start creating these swirls also on top of the cake, pressing the offset spatula down and swirling the cake round and round. Okay, now we're ready for the decoration. I made some glue, edible glue, using Tylose powder and water, and then I let it sit for a while because I want to put a sand effect on the board. So in order for the sand to stick on the cake, I used the edible glue. For the sand, I used just crushed cookies. I rather use cookies than brown sugar, so it's not a mouthful of sugar when the kids eat the cake. I will just remove excess cookie crumbs and then pat it down a little bit with the spoon. To place the bigger elements on the cake, I first hold them both together and see where everything will go, and then I place one by one. The most prominent or like the biggest element first, which is Ariel on top of the cake. I decided where I want to put it and then I stick it in. And so is number 9. Then I add the rest of the elements. Here I have a mermaid's tail made out of fondant. And I made the small mermaid tail out of gum paste and put a toothpick in it so it can harden completely. So any element that is standing straight on top of the cake is made out of gum paste so it can harden, and I make it a day in advance. I add some more cookie crumbs all around the cake, and then I add a lot of my fondant seashells that I've created earlier as well, just on top of the cake and around the cake as well in the bottom. And there it is.